Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are back once again to do a PLE predictions video, this time for NXT Great American Bash, which is set to take place this Sunday on June 28th in Orlando, Florida. Per usual, we'll go through every single match on the card, give you our thoughts and feelings on each one, and then give you our thoughts and feelings on the entire card as a whole. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the opening contest, which again is in no particular order, just an order that kind of makes sense. It is Saquon Shugars going up against Dion, Lennox seeing the blow off of their big feuds. Obviously, Saquon was kicked out of Dark State. KP, any chance Saquon comes out of here as a winner? Or do you think Dark State obviously has the numbers game and that will kind of play into their advantage?
Yeah, you've already hit the probably most important part of that, I think, straight away there, and that is the other Dark State members. And we know the build to this one has been Saquon Sugars taking out each and every single other member of Dark State, isolating Dion Lennox. They can have this one-on-one matchup. So yeah, it's basically whether we do see the other Dark State members that are going to be back around the conversation. If that's the case, then I'm pretty certain this one would probably go in the way of Dion Lennox. But I do think looking at the two men on paper and like who would really need a win more so than the other, I think Saquon Sugars makes a lot more sense to get a win here, just purely for the fact that obviously he's gone through what he's been through with Dark State in the past number of weeks, obviously being kicked out in the first place and then obviously taking them out one by one, bringing us to this matchup right here at the Great American Bash. I feel like if we're gonna sort of go past that and like I don't know, take that away from Saquon Sugars, it seems like a bit of a I don't know, maybe like a return to the status quo, perhaps, I guess you could say, with Dion Lennox getting the win here. But if Darkseid are back, then I got no real issues with that. But if it's a one-on-one capacity, that's basically my main gripe there. Yeah, it's just basically where Darkseid will be there. I'm gonna say the effort that Saquon has put in to get rid of the other members is probably gonna blow up in his face. I reckon that Darkseid will come back in. So I'm gonna go with Dion Lennox, but I kind of want Saquon Sugars to win this one. This is quite a difficult one to predict. I think it does literally matter on just the other members of Darkseid being around. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Dion to win. I just think that no matter what you can do to a group of three people, they probably will be back for this match. Whatever means necessary to get to this position to help out Dion. So yeah, I don't know. I reckon that's gonna be the case. It'll probably be a really valiant effort from Sugars, but he'll just about not quite have enough, in my opinion, to get this one done. What about you, Nick? I think it does rely on the other three heavily. How heavily do you think it relies on them, though?
Yeah, it's honestly impressive that the other members of Darkseid have stayed away for as long as they have. Obviously, that is the elephant in the room. I'm hopeful that at the very least, Sugars gets a good showing here. As you know, I've always felt like Saquon was kind of the standout, or at least one of the standouts. Definitely has the most personality, most charisma. So I really like what he does. I like the story that they told this last week on NXT, where Saquon was the actual wrestler, whereas the other three were just kind of implanted from their other sports. So I kind of like that too. It makes it further helps us get on Saquon's side. But the issue, obviously, that being the numbers game, but there is no shortage of people that have been wrong by the dark state. So I don't think if the numbers game does come into play here, even if Saquon does lose, I think he could potentially flip that. There, like I said, no shortage of people that could help him kind of take down Dark State. But if Dion does get the win here, it will be because, like you said, the other members of Dark State are coming into play. But not only that, I think if Dion wins here, then that means it's not the end of this because you're not going to have Saquon lose and that be the end of it. So, yeah, I would love to see Saquon win. I just don't see that happening. I think Dion's going to win, and then this feud is going to continue on. With that, let's get into the next contest of the evening, which is for the WWE Women's Speed Championship. Wren Sinclair defending her title up against a surprising Arianna Grace. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
But like so far, we're just going to be talking about everybody who isn't actually in these matches. That's going to be the deciding factor. Obviously, you look at Ariana Grace in this one, you got to bring up Birthright. There's just so many individuals that can play havoc here at ringside, and I feel like that can really come to the aid here of Ariana Grace. Obviously, we've seen Birthright in the past couple of weeks, whatever. Mixing it up with various different people or whatever, and not making an awful lot of friends, and it's quite difficult for them. But this matchup here is interesting because you do look at Birthright as well, and obviously they've got the men's speed championship. They've got Lexus King, as the champion there. So they could really just have both speed championships, and actually that kind of does make some sense. I would prefer it if Wren wins this match. Not gonna lie, I don't think that Arianna should be taking the title from Wren. But what I will say is that more often than not, the champions don't tend to be showcased too often, and I want to see some more of Wren Sinclair. So I'm gonna go with Arianna Grace to win the Women's Speed Championship, just because I think that Wren needs a bit more time on screen. I feel like when you're the champion, you don't get put that much. So yeah, I'd like to see a bit more of her. I think that would be probably a great sort of like way for her to get back into the swing of things on like a regular basis. Losing the speed championship here and then like just going to a bit more of a regular thing on a weekly basis, I think makes sense to me personally. And then obviously, yeah, you've got Birthright, sticking their noses in here, playing Havoc and helping out to gain another speed championship for their group. So I think it does make sense. I think logically that's right there. So yeah, I'm going to go with Arianna to win. What about you though, Nick? Do you sort of agree with me here? How important do you think the numbers game will be? And is there any logic to what I'm saying? Do you agree with it, or have you got something else to put on the line?
Yeah, you make a good point about the speed championship not being featured that often, at least on the women's side. I it is a tough one. I feel like Ariana is obviously more of a comedic character. Not to say she can't go in the ring, but definitely kind of feels, more of a comedy character. That being said, I feel like Wren Sinclair is improving. And now that you mention it, if she were to lose the title here to Ariana Grace, I think she would be a perfect contender, kind of babyface-esque contender to go after Zaria's North American title on the women's side. I think that kind of writes itself. Just she's very big babyface, and not of Wren Sinclair, especially if Kendal Gray and her continue to be buddies. I think that could work out really well for them. Yeah, these speed championships. I think you've kind of rubbed off on me a bit. I used to like them, but they're kind of dying in interest wise on my end. Um, but so I don't really have a huge like prediction here, but I think you're probably right. I think Ariana probably will win. They'll have both speed championships, and they've just been a thorn in everyone's side. So let's kind of just continue that, and they can do it on a hand tactic, whatever. Birthright, continuing to be maybe the next dark stage, just get it on everyone's nerves all the time. So I'm probably gonna go with Ariana as well to win here and become our new women's speed champion. The next contest of the evening is for the NXT North American Championship, which has Myles Borne defending, going up against his former member in Tavion Heights. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
Well, firstly, I don't want to sound like I'm getting too over my head here, but I think this match really could be like a sleeper for one of the matches of the night. I reckon there's a really good chance this one is an absolutely quality affair. Very similarly to that of Wren Sinclair, though, I do have to admit here, we don't see a lot of Myles Borne as of late. I feel like that's quite criminal. We do need to see a bit more of him. I think his last match, came in like a tag match loss a few weeks ago. So yeah, I would like to see a bit more of him, to be fair. But this one here, it's got obviously a very interesting dynamic. Two members of the No Quarter Cats crew, obviously they used to be anyway. And there's a lot of history between the two guys. Obviously, a lot of like mutual respect towards each other. I like Tavion's just trying to edge into that more heelish sort of side of things. We've seen that sort of attitude from him over the past number of months. Never really fully committed to it though. Whether that's maybe a creative thing or it's meant to be sort of like that way by design, I'm not entirely certain. But I think a great way of doing something here is to have him probably take a loss against Myles Borne and then just absolutely demolish him afterwards. That could be a really good idea here, sort of like out for pure frustration. They sort of like go for a handshake after the contest, like to show respect, because obviously, the two do have that with each other. And then that's when, Tavion really goes, you know what? Screw you. I'm getting you next time. So I'm going to go with Myles Borne retains here, and then we do see some sort of like heel turn from Tavion Heights after the matchup. Or maybe even perhaps during it. I don't know. I think it makes more sense to do it afterwards, but Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go with in this one. I'm not ready for Myles to lose that championship yet. Obviously, we're talking about the guy who took it off of Ethan Page, had like an extremely long reign with it, equaling the record number of days by Overfemi as well. So I feel like the next championship reign should be relatively decent. And I think just giving Myles another defense here, up against a friend, matter of respect between the two men, and then obviously going into something a bit more heated afterwards, I think that's probably the best idea for me personally. So that's where my head lies with this one. What about you, Nick? Who have you got for the North American Championship match? Who thinks walking out with the title?
Yeah, do my best not to repeat you here, but yeah, Tavion definitely wants to be kind of separated from Myles' limelight here, and I think Tavion has a ton of potential. Clearly in the ring, obviously that's never been an issue, but from a character standpoint, even the photos shown here, he does look more heelish, and so I think that is definitely the direction they are going. It's just a matter of how and when. So I think your kind of layout here works perfectly, gives Myles a bit more time with the title, but then gives Tavion a bit more time to kind of further that heel character, which I think is definitely necessary. The babyface felt like it was just not really going to work, or at least the way it was. But best way to do that is have a babyface turn heel, and then when he goes back to babyface, he'll eventually be more appreciated. I do think Tavion is massively underrated, but we'll see. We'll see how this one goes. I would probably agree with you. I think they are going to have this one go in Myles' favor, and then Tavion can do the after match things, or maybe the next week on NXT when Myles is trying to comfort him. That's a possibility as well. But I think I definitely don't think this is the last time we'll see this matchup. At least that I'm hoping. And I think you're right. I think this could be one of the matches of the night, kind of sleeper wise. So looking forward to it as well. The next matchup of the evening has Tatum Paxley going up against Zaria once again to try to regain her NXT North American Championship. KP, any chance Zaria loses her title right back to Tatum here?
I'm going to go with a quick fire no. And based on what you were talking about earlier on, I'm pretty sure you think the same thing as well, eyeing up Wren Sinclair as a possibility going after this one. Yeah, I don't think so. I think, we just had Tatum Paxley with the reign. Was quite a fun one as well. I think Tatum's, extremely valuable in NXT. I think she's a really great asset to have around. Are her days numbered in NXT though? I don't know. Maybe a main roster call up is coming on for her. She's a former NXT Women's Champion, former NXT North American Champion. So I feel like it's a matter of time before she probably does go up. But obviously we see what happens from there. But yeah, like if you win the title back here as Tatum Paxley, I don't really think you need to. I think you've done what you've pretty much wanted to accomplish on NXT, and I feel like now we got to go into that sort of like new direction here, and Zaria is the perfect woman to do so. She's obviously been off the back of a great story with Saruka, and just everything that's sort of like gone on since then. She's been absolutely killing it, momentum wise, just steamrolling, upward trajectory all the time. So yeah, why really have that momentum derailed right now and just play a little bit of hot potato between her and Tatum Paxley? So yeah, easy one for me. This one, I don't have any sort of doubts or questions about this one. Zaria to win and to retain her Women's North American Championship, nice and simple. Nick, what do you think? I'm pretty sure you already alluded to it, but am I reading the room wrong?
Or not, and you mentioned momentum, and I didn't love the fact that Zaria took a pen this last week on NXT, even if it was from the NXT Women's Champion herself, Lola Vice. Just felt like that wasn't really necessary. Definitely could have had Kalani, and that's coming from me, take the pen. So yeah, I didn't love that, and I also feel like this match is a bit thrown together. Like, okay, Tatum lost her title, and then she pops up in the stands. That's your match. That's the reason, quote unquote, that Zaria lost because she got distracted. Kind of silly, but regardless, yeah, hopefully Zaria can pick up the momentum here. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Zaria dominates the contest, as you alluded to. If Tatum does feel like she has kind of done everything in NXT, if she is moving up, then all the more reason for Zaria to get a dominant win to make sure her momentum gets back on track here. Definitely with the same result on my end, Zaria to retain. The next matchup here, the finalist in the Mr. NXT pageant, both Tristian Angels going up against Shiloh Hill. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
Yeah, we've had a crazy last few weeks, right, with these two. It's been very entertaining. The Mr. NXT stuff was just it's just quite bizarre, but it was really enjoyable though. I quite liked it, the whole thing. But yeah, when you come to obviously these two having a match, you look at the last interaction between these two men, and that would be Shiloh Hill sort of, costing Tristian Angels the Men's Evolved Championship. That was this past NXT. And then you go back to before that, where, that was the Mr. NXT stuff, and Shiloh won that, with Tristian attacking him afterwards out of pure jealousy and hatred towards him. So I feel like it probably is swinging in the favor of Shiloh Hill, the past number of weeks. He's sort of done more to Tristian than Tristan's done to him. So I think naturally with that sort of logistical looking at things, it does make sense for Tristian to get a win here to get some sort of like momentum back. And this guy's a bit of an upstart in NXT, right? He hasn't been around too long. Hasn't had a massively high-profile win since being here. And I feel like Shiloh's not in like the main event scene or anything, but like I feel like he's probably one of the more appreciated and well-booked superstars currently in NXT. So for Tristian to beat Shiloh, I think would be a really cool moment for him, just to sort of like get some real sort of like firepower, just to, work his way up that roster a little bit quicker. Which I think his character work is absolutely fantastic, by the way. So if he can keep going with this, get one over Shiloh, I think this does just help him out massively here. Whereas if Shiloh takes a loss, I don't really think that does anything for him. You'll probably see him laughing about it on NXT next week, and he'll then probably just, do something else to sort of like build himself back up again pretty quickly. So yeah, I feel like Tristian makes a lot more sense personally with this one, but I love Shiloh, so I don't really care who wins in that respect, because I think either way's a win for me personally. So yeah, I'm going to go Tristian Angels to win, though. I think it does make just a little bit more sense. What about you, though, Nick? Who do you got for this one and to walk out with the win?
Yeah, completely agree. I think both men could use a win here, but definitely Tristan needing it more. Shiloh pretty established and has unlimited ways he could take that character. Obviously, we've seen on a combination of LFG and NXT what Shiloh Hill can do both in and outside of the ring. So don't think a loss here would hurt him, and Tristan winning definitely helps establish him. So basically, continuing on the same kind of logic you had, I'd like to see Tristan a little bit more of him in the ring. Obviously, I haven't seen a ton of him, where I've seen a decent amount of Shiloh, but I think this contest, as long as it's a good one and both men are represented well, I don't really think there's a losing scenario here, but I too think that Tristan does deserve the win and needs the win more, so I will go with Tristian Angels to get a win over Mr. NXT here. The next matchup of the evening is for the NXT Women's Championship match. Obviously, Lola Vice defending, going up against Kendal Gray. KP, is this the time Kendal Gray finally gets her hands on the NXT Women's Championship?
I want to say yes. I really, really do. I'm absolutely massive fan of Kendal Gray. Probably my favorite woman on NXT at the moment, just generally speaking. Just the talent that she possesses, just taken to it so damn fast as well. But does this seem a little bit too perfect of an opportunity? I don't know. I'm not entirely certain. This is a second attempt at the NXT Women's Championship in a singles match, if I'm rightly saying that. I think it's a third overall. So for her to go up against Lola Vice here, Lola's still relatively new into her reign. She only won it back a Stand and Deliver. We're talking like a couple of months ago, right? It hasn't been that long. So like in terms of, just sort of like the position that both these ladies are in, Kendal taking a loss doesn't do too much for her. And I think like there have been names around this conversation, one of which is Kalani Jordan. Kalani's obviously very, very sort of, frustrated with how things have been recently. I could see her maybe getting involved here, maybe costing Kendal Gray, and, then Lola continues with the championship, and we sort of like have that, situation with Kalani being involved here. Whether that leads to a triple threat or not, I'm not entirely certain of which, but it's a difficult dynamic to predict, that one, because of how into this Kalani really, really is. So yeah, I'm confused about that, honestly, if I'm going to be genuinely 100% serious about that. I think that's a really important factor that shouldn't be overlooked in this matchup. I think you take away that, I think that probably Kendal should win, but because of the jealousy, because of the stuff going on from there, I don't know. I'm weirded out by that. So it is a tough one to call this, and just basically on the face of that, I think I'm gonna have to give the edge to Lola Vice here. I really, really think I am. But I want to see Kendal win. But I think I am going to go with Lola Vice retaining here, and that comes in way of a Kalani Jordan interference. So yeah, as to whether that's going to go smoothly or not, maybe it might not. But I don't know. It just makes sense for Kalani to keep on being laser focused on this. She clearly hasn't given up on the title, so I think what better way to keep her invested and relevant in the story than to have her play a part in this match. So that just makes sense to me personally. What about you then, Nick? Who have you got? Do you agree Kalani could be important? who's going to walk out with the women's NXT Championship?
While I would agree that Kalani definitely should be in the NXT Women's Championship picture, I I'm kind of on the side that I feel like that matchup was just because, that typical go home schlob where we see the champion face the champion or the champion tag with the champion just to get him in action on the go home show to remind him that the match is coming up. So I'm kind of hopeful that Kalani is just waiting by the wayside. Obviously, if Kendal is to win here, then that's definitely a fantastic first matchup. I'll also say that with on the other side of that same coin is it sucks that Kalani would again be another person fed to the title, but I'm hopeful that that's what's going on here. I don't want honestly, I don't. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Kendall as well, and not that that plays into it, but it maybe does a little. I don't want to see Kendall taking that many more losses, to be honest. I think Lola's made tremendous improvements, but just comparatively speaking, I think Kendall blows Lola out of the water from an in-ring perspective. So make of that what you will. If that is bias, we'll call it that, I guess. But yeah, I think I don't want to see Kendall take too many more losses, and I think it's definitely time. You could argue probably beyond time. I want to see Kendall with that title and see what she can do with it. We've seen what she's been able to do in such a short time as you have alluded to. Um, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I think the time is now here at NXT Great American Bash. The next matchup of the evening in our main event for the NXT Championship has Tony D'Angelo defending against Naraku. KP, who you got coming out of this one?
Well, based on NXT, I think there's just one absolutely obvious answer to this one, right? Based on how Tony D sort of like suffered at the hands of Naraku, I feel like it's difficult to really look against the challenger in this case because of just everything that he's done. He's obviously been playing those incredible mind games, coming from a very sadistic sort of side of things, and he seemingly has just had Tony D'Angelo just utterly perplexed this entire time, questioning everything and the entirety of the momentum has been with Naraku in this build. So off of that front, that plays heavily into the challenger's side of things. But normally we do say like, oh, well, if the challenger's so, over in the situation, probably means he's going to lose when it comes to the big time match. Honestly, that you can make really good arguments for both here. You look at Tony D. He went through the whole of Dark State, and then and then said that his second phase was to get to the NXT Championship, which he did. He won on a fatal four way, so he did a great job with that. And then obviously those two missions have come to buy, and now he's got a brand new sort of like scene ever building around him. Is changing all the downtime at the moment, seemingly, and we got a lot of fresh faces around the conversation. I feel like, this is like a start of a new era sort of thing, kind of in bits. So what better way than to have Naraku win this matchup and sort of like he is the leader of this new era in NXT. He's the guy now. Give him a shot with the title and let him roll with it and see what he can do. So I genuinely think that the positives of Naraku winning outweigh negatives for him. And like you got to keep this guy protected for a little while, right? I guess you could put like a spin on this, like whether it's like a DQ or something, to sort of like keep himself protected, or whatnot. I feel like that is a decent way of doing things, but I think honestly, just pull the trigger, just do it, just have Naraku beat Tony D, and we got a brand new NXT champion off the back of this. Then obviously we got a brand new sort of like clean slate here that we're building towards going forward. So I quite like that. I think that for me sounds like a better idea. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm definitely going to be right about this, but this is just my prediction. I feel like that is a pretty good way of like looking into the future, being like, oh well, that resets a lot of things. So yeah, I'm keen for the prospect of that. So that's why I'm going to go with Naraku to win the NXT Championship here. What about you, then, Nick? Do you think this one could go either way? Do you think that there are more positives for Naraku winning, or have you got Tony D walking out of here and handing Naraku his first loss?
Yeah, I know it doesn't make for the best content sometimes when we agree on every single detail, but unfortunately, this is another one of those. It just feels like the upside, as you kind of alluded to too, is just way more for Naraku than it is for Tony D. Nothing against Tony D, but what more can he really do at this point with this very, which is crazy. I would call it a clean slate as well, especially on the men's side, but it's crazy how you know valuable these kind of top three contenders are on the men's side, and all of a sudden just came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden this mixed division feels stacked, and for a long time it wasn't. So yeah, I think this is probably the best opportunity to get Naraku the title, and as you said, keep him safe. Tony D'Angelo definitely doesn't get hurt by taking a loss here, and I kind of fear that Naraku could, have some damage to his character here, even if it was due to a DQ. It just feels like it's a great opportunity to do so. Tony D obviously made his valiant comeback, and so based on that, that all being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony D does win. I just think if he is going to win, it's going to be because of some interference. So I like you. I think Naraku is probably the best choice to win, and so that's who I am going to go with. But not very confident in that at all. I'm very intrigued by Naraku's kind of heel turn and the fireball in particular. It's hard to take it super seriously, but still, clearly he's capable of some very evil things. So looking forward to kind of seeing what they can do and how they can expand on that, especially with a title. I think that could be a very interesting title reign. Well, I would love to see that. So with that, NXT Great American Bash. KP, what are you most looking forward to? Sleeper match. I think you mentioned one in there, but maybe you have another. And just how are you feeling about the card overall? And we'll get this one wrapped up.
Yeah, I actually made my opinion clear on Myles, Borne, and Tavion Heights. I think that could be a really, really phenomenal matchup. Just two guys that are very technically sound in the ring, and I think, obviously with that history between the two of them, it just makes sense that could be a really, really fun match. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. I also think Kendal Gray and Lola Vice just has the recipe for success in that matchup. No matter really what way it goes, I think we're in for a treat. Should be a really good match, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how the two do together in a one-on-one capacity. We've seen a match between them one-on-one before, and that was pretty damn good, So I'm expecting big things again here. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that one goes down as well. But yeah, just generally across the board, solid card by the looks of things. So many big important matches, title matches, whatnot here and there. Yeah, there isn't really anything that I'm like a little bit disappointed by. Maybe there's a lack of tag teams action, but honestly, right now we got all of this. I'm not going to say we need any more on this card. So I'm chuffed with how everything's looking, and I'm excited to see how the event goes. NXT PLEs are always my favorite time of the I guess every couple of months at this rate, really. It seemingly is getting a bit more sparse as we're going along, but yeah, it's always my favorite time when it comes around. So I'm excited for this one, very, very keen, and just hoping for a really solid card across the board. What about you then, Nick? Sleeper matches, ones you're particularly looking forward to, and overall thoughts on the card?
Yeah, 7 matches, 5 of them being for titles. Definitely not a bad look to it. Kind of continuing the momentum of Night of Champions, title heavy PLE. So hopefully both go well. And with this one, I really am looking forward to Saquon and Dion. I hope they put a lot of kind of emotion behind that, as Saquon obviously should. I have high hopes for that one, as well as the NXT Women's Championship, Lola and Kendal. Maybe it's hopeful that Kendal comes out as championship and with as a champion. Maybe that's part of the reason. And then obviously the NXT Championship match as well. Naraku, I think, could make a great champion. So looking forward to those matches. But yeah, overall, I would agree, a pretty stacked card. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, similar to the Night of Champions logic that we used on that predictions video. Hopefully, because of the long list of matches, some of them don't get cut short. You mentioned off air, obviously the Speed Championship won't take much time, but the rest of those, hopefully, they get plenty of time to deliver. So looking forward to that. But with that, what do you all make of NXT Great American Bash? What are you most looking forward to? We'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you like what we're putting out here. Per usual, we'll be back with the reactions for this PLE, as well as the reactions for Night of Champions very soon, as well as our SmackDown recap. And we are continuing to work on our NXT. If you like NXT things, we are continuing to work on that NXT PLE project. We're going through every single NXT dating back from 2014 to current day. So keep an eye out for that if you are a big NXT fan like KP. But until next time, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you soon. Take care.